Hey everybody, I'm Brandy Kelly and I'm a superintendent on a mission to lead with hope. The Lead with Hope podcast is a bi-weekly podcast that will inspire and empower you to lead with hope. Check out my website at leadwithhope.net. Today, my guest is Jim VanAllen. He's the president of the Energy Bus for Schools program through the Jon Gordon Companies. Jim works with schools and districts across the country, providing schools the blueprint and the framework to remove negativity, empower students, energize teachers, and ultimately create a positive campus culture. Welcome to the Lead with Hope podcast, Jim.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and just recently, I think it was August 12th or 13th, you were at my school doing that very thing that I spoke of in the introduction. And, you talked a little bit when you came out to our school about your story, and I believe that there's enormous power in sharing your story. When you share your story, you share your life experiences, there's some vulnerability there, but you have the ability to really help other people through that process of sharing your story. So at this time, Jim, can you share your story a little bit today with our listeners?
Of course. And I love sharing my story and other stories because that's how, you're right, that's how we get connected and that's how we get inspired, right? And we kind of think back to our own stories a little bit and how we got started. So, I mean, like many of your listeners, I know a lot of them probably wanted to be in education for a long time. And, being a professional speaker and writer and having that kind of an impact, I've always wanted to do that. Like since high school, like I've always admired great speakers and the keynote speaker on stage. I would go to conferences and I would see these men and women on stage, inspiring audiences with their voice. And I was always just amazed by it. And I had that skill in high school and middle school of being known, among your friend circles and your teachers as being like the public speaker, right? The good speaker, but didn't quite know what to do with that skill until I had good teachers kind of point me in the direction of maybe getting into the speaking world. So I held on to that dream as I got into college, but there's no major to be a professional speaker. It doesn't exist, right? It's sort of a life experience type thing. And at 18, 19 years old, you don't have any life experience. That's at least I didn't at the time. So I chose to go sort of the corporate route. I thought I might do something in public relations, use communication that way. And then friends of mine at an internship saw this up and coming guy speaking right around the corner from my university, an hour away. His name is Jon Gordon. And at the time, like some of your listeners may know him very well now, at the time in 2006, Jon had written 0 books really, and was doing speaking engagements for free or, just trying to get his name out there. So they said I should reach out. So I sent him an email, right? And it was that moment where you're like, all right, I'm going to send this email and who knows what's going to happen. You hit send and off it goes. And Jon wrote me back and I called him the next day, gave me a cell, and we talked. And I ended up interning for him my last 2 years at Florida, helping him launch his first ever book, The Energy Bus, which, if you don't know anything about The Energy Bus, that's gone on 18 years later to sell 4.5 million copies worldwide. It's a big phenomenon in the education, the business world about unity, right? About positivity. So I helped him launch that book, and I was basically his first trainer. So as he grew, he couldn't be everywhere at once. So he would send me to do some speaking engagements because he knew that's what I wanted to do. And even as I went and pursued my master's and my doctorate for teaching and other things I wanted to do, Jon and I still maintain a great relationship. And like I said, I would start doing more and more speaking engagements until now I'm running his entire Energy Bus for Schools division, starting up a school program with him and writing a book with him. So it's been a remarkable journey from intern to where I'm at now with him. And, I always say to people, people can show you the door as Jon did, but, you have to find a way to run through it, right? And then do something once you cross that door. So I've made the most of my opportunity and I love impacting people with stories and strategies and energy to really help them grow as people, especially educators, right?
Yeah, you have an amazing job that you can come in and you can share that positive message and inspire educators, like you did for us at the beginning of the school year, and it got us started off on the right foot. You talked about doing that a little bit for businesses too. Do you do that for businesses, or is there another layer to the Energy Bus realm with businesses in mind?
So certainly I have done a lot of businesses before I sort of made education my niche.
Okay.
So I have and I can, and I've been into a seed company I did once, banks. I've done a pharmaceutical company. I mean, I've done a lot of non-business groups, but through we have a core team that works with Jon Gordon, and there's a section of the company that really focuses on the power of positive leadership, the power of a positive team, to help businesses and companies thrive with training and workshops that we've developed. So there is a wing of the Jon Gordon Companies that does help a lot of businesses and folks, and we have some great teammates who engage in those areas too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been to some of those trainings as well, and they're very, very well put together. So I would encourage anybody that's looking for workshops to check out the Energy Bus, to check out the Power Positive Leadership, Power Positive Teams, all great content. But going back to education a little bit, that's my life. That's where you spend the majority of your time is in schools. So what are you seeing as you're going into schools? I mean, what I am seeing from my perspective is there's a lot of negativity out there. And with social media, it just keeps things amped up. It's a 24/7 cycle. And so that drama feeds the negativity. And then on the other side of that, people want that positivity, but then there is that delicate balance between being positive and the toxic positivity that we hear about. So what would be your advice for teachers or staff or school leaders in terms of embracing this positive message, but not going over the edge into that toxic positivity?
Well, when it comes to this, and I'm seeing a lot of the same things you are. I'm seeing a lot of low morale caused by change in leadership, too much change in leadership. That's going to cause anxiety, and too much change, of course, is going to cause people to be uneasy and not feel as grounded in their work and their school, and not be able to trust a lot of their principals and superintendents if there's constant turnover, right? Why would you invest in somebody and their mission if you think they're going to be gone in 2 years, right? You're going to work in silo, and you're going to try to be more autonomous because you're protecting yourself. So I think I'm seeing a lot of that out there, and that's why I focus so much on the principals and superintendents and say, listen, leadership's a transfer of belief. Energy is transactional, and we need to find a place and really grow there, engage there, like try to build something there, and earn the trust of these teachers who have dedicated their lives into the profession. Like, what a noble thing to do, dedicating your life to service, right? I mean, there are a million other things you can do, but they've decided to be there. And when it comes to the staff side, that's why I focus so much on mindset, because I try to get through to them that there is so much swirling around education right now. We're in an era of parental transparency. Parents want to know what's going on, right? They're a little more quick to the trigger to come knock on a principal's door or go to a school board meeting. They want to know the curriculum. They don't want to know the books. They want to ask a lot of questions. There's school board revolutions going on, where there's who knows what's going on in different school boards. You have curriculum issues. You have social media and a different generation of student coming in now with their own set of new behavioral problems. So we can go on, but there's a weight that weighs teachers down of being like, I just want to teach, right? And then they have to deal with a lot of other stuff that perhaps they didn't sign up for. And maybe they're having a little bit of buyer's remorse. So I try to come in and say, it's all about fueling a drive of positivity, meaning it's mindset first. So let's try to find the challenge. Let's try to find the opportunity wherever we go. And let's also remember that you are supposed to be in that role, okay? Because if you're not in that role, somebody else is going to be, maybe shouldn't be there. And I'm trying to get them to get past this negativity without ignoring it. When you ignore it, That's toxic positivity, right? That's when you just sort of say everything is okay and let's all stay positive and let's all just have a meal together. It doesn't work that way. So in my workshops, we don't hesitate. We don't shy away from talking about the challenges, talking about solutions, but also giving them a plan to say, listen, if you have ideas, like please follow the appropriate chain here. Go to your supervisor, go to your man, go to your principal, go to your, go to your grade level team and share these ideas. Don't just let them stay with you. And that will help you to feel empowered as an educator to know that I can share what I say has value, and that can help control this classroom, this school, this area. Because I certainly can't control what goes on outside these walls from a legislative or what a parental standpoint. But our collective ideas on our campus, our collective attitude, everybody buying into the fact and believing that, you know what, we're really going to be thinking about what we're thinking about as a staff.
Yeah.
That's the power, believing in that.
Yeah.
And then when you believe that in thought power as this whole staff, you're gonna trust each other to share ideas. Then you're gonna trust your leadership to go and give ideas to them. And it's going to be a transactional process. So there's a lot to it, right?
Yeah, it is. Education is incredibly complex, but I love what you started that off with in terms of transactional leadership and the power that our principals have in their buildings as instructional leaders to transfer their beliefs to their people. They're setting the vision for their building, and the superintendent is setting it for their district. But that transfer of belief is so incredibly powerful. And I also loved what you said about that circle of control. Oftentimes I think in education, we get so burnt out because we spend so much time outside of our circle of control. We spend time on things that we have little to no control over. And then we wonder why we continue to just do the same things over and over again without any results. And we have to support one another. We have to focus on our circle of control, and we have to show up every day with that positive mindset. And teachers then are transferring their beliefs to their students. So whether you believe your students can or can't, you're probably going to get what you think. So mindset matters at every layer of the organization. And that's one of the reasons that I came up with the framework for Lead with Hope. My framework of Lead with Hope, H is habits, O is optimistic outlook, P is passion, purpose, and perseverance, and E is excellence. And in that framework, it kind of embodies what you're talking about, Jim. So of that acronym, which one of those letters resonate most with you and why?
I would say, so H is hope, right?
H is habits.
Habits, I'm sorry. So when it comes to the habits part, I would start there because let's face it, right? Habits let you, habits dictate your actions, okay, and then those actions will dictate the relationships, right? So what I mean by that, right? You have habits leading to actions, which leads to relationships. So if I have a good habit of going out and having one-on-one conversations with teachers and with staff members as a school leader, that's a great action that's going to cause that relationship to be even stronger. Okay. And if I have a great habit as a teacher to stand outside my door and greet and fist bump or whatever handshake people do with students, that's a great action. It's going to lead to you really truly knowing something about those students and really connecting with them. And if I have the habit as a teacher of saying, I want to come up with more, I want to routinely come up with different strategies to teach this material and engage my students and do icebreakers and break outside the textbooks a little bit. That's a great action that's going to cause them to really enjoy your class a lot more and look forward to coming there. So habits are something that takes a lot of work to create new ones. We know that. I mean, there's research all over the place about 21 straight days, trying a new habit, and then it becomes norm. But there's it's breaking old habits. That's the challenging part. And that's why I like to, and as adults, we can, As we get older, we can do that. We have the ability to. It's just, are we willing to put in the effort? Right? When you have done something for a while, the same certain teaching style, certain leadership style, when you've done sort of the same types of things, that's comfortable and normal. But that's when things can grow a little bit stale, okay? And people don't find it as authentic. So I like to start with the habit part to be able to dictate a lot more things that are going to happen on that campus.
Yeah, it all starts with habit. And I think that we underestimate the small things that we do every day, the good habits or the bad habits. And sometimes we get in our own way because the habits that have provided success for us in the past are no longer serving us. And to break those old habits is so hard.
Right. Extremely hard. Right? And that's the battle that a lot of us fight. A lot of teachers and educators fight is wanting to try something new, especially from a mindset thing. And that's hard when if you've been generationally, you've had negative people around you. If your home life is not as strong, you wonder why students are negative or misbehaving sometimes over and over again. Their parents are probably the same way, right? Or not, they're not have a home life that is conducive to teaching them some of these skills, because it's not up to the teachers and the superintendents and the principals to all fall on them for the behavior part. I mean, I always say that the parent is not just an equal part, but they are the main driving forces in this, and the teachers and schools can supplement, right? But a lot of it falls on the parents. So if they're not getting it there, they're not going to get it at the school, or not, not come around to it as much. So there's usually a reason behind negativity and anxiety with the students and staff. Usually there's something else driving that. Yeah. And it's something that we can't see as much, but that's why, with your leading with hope, it gives you a chance to say, you know what, I can use this acronym. I can use these. I have hope that this student and this person can be transformed.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what I believe. And that's why it keeps me going as a speaker. Is I truly believe anybody is capable of making a habit change, of making a personal development change, but it's going to take a paradigm shift. It's going to take effort. It's going to take accountability. But if you want it bad enough, right? If you want it bad enough for yourself and for your school, there's going to be some barriers you got to break through, but it's worth the fight. It is a fight, but it's worth the effort to put into it.
Yeah. And I have a coach that I work with right now, and he talks about pain points. He talks about the fact that sometimes that change isn't going to happen until there's a level of discomfort. And we don't like to see that. We don't like to feel that, but sometimes that's what it requires in order to have that deep change. And you hit on something there that I really believe in my whole heart, and that is teachers and staff are coming to school with baggage. They're carrying around a lot of baggage at varying degrees, of course, but our teachers and staff are carrying baggage. Our students are carrying baggage. Our school leaders are carrying baggage. And we have to provide those individuals with that beacon of hope so that they know that there is a brighter future ahead. And it depends on what they do with what they're given. You talked about earlier about you had an open door, but you had to go through it, and you had to implement the habits and do the things to reach your level of success. Same thing here. So talking a little bit more about that adversity piece, if you're willing to do so, I believe that we all have adversity, trauma, whatever you want to call it, in your life. Is there a trauma or an adversity in your life that you feel like was really impactful for your journey?
I would say, there was a time where after I interned with Jon and was sort of working for him paid after college, as an assistant and just support person, right? Things were going well, and then of course things at the end of 2008 happened, and we didn't part ways, but it wasn't the same, right? And I was sort of off on my own for a little bit, and that's when I decided to go to graduate school, right at the beginning of 2009, because I'm like, all right, the relationship has evolved a little bit here. I thought I was going to go this one way as a speaker, and it's not quite working out that way right now. And so that was a trying time in life, because it's like you thought you had things figured out. I've been interning with Jon for 2 years. I'm getting set up to be, a speaker and go this path. And all of a sudden it's like, no, we're going to change things around a little bit. And he was sort of outsourcing some sales stuff, and I was sort of being spun off to kind of that other company sales world. And I wasn't really wanting to do sales, or I wanted to speak. Right. And I found myself in a vacuum, right? I'm like, all right, I'm not really working with Jon as much right now. I didn't really have another plan for the future. So, and it was a challenging time of life, and I just gotten engaged, so, I was like, all right, well, so luckily I applied to graduate school, and I caught the deadline by 2 weeks. Like I was 2 weeks early, 2 weeks to apply, which means I had to have a GRE score in. Oh, and I had never studied for the GRE at all. So I was cramming for a week straight, a week, right? I found a class on campus that I kind of snuck into that was GRE training for like a few days, popped into that, went and took the test, got a decent enough score. I'm not a test guy, a decent enough score where I applied, got into grad school, and then I found out that I won an assistantship where they are going to pay for your school, and I was going to be able to teach as I went back to school, right? Teach public speaking as I got my degree in communication studies. So it was a lot of adversity that led to a great path that I'm still on. I still do profess. I'm still a professor for a university around me now, fully online now, full time, right? But if I didn't have that adversity with Jon at the end there, I don't know if I would have pursued my master's and then PhD to teach. And now I have kind of two ways of earning, and it's been awesome, and it's been double the amount of impact that I get to have, right? So
yeah.
I'm thankful for that challenging moment in life. And then of course, Jon and I sync back up and thick as thieves ever since running Energy Bus schools and speaking and building something great. So kind of needed that time.
Yeah. I believe everything happens for a reason. I know some people don't like that saying, if you will. But I do. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and we have a choice in life, and we can use it to help us build, or it can make us feel bitter. And I just choose to be better instead of bitter. And again, everything happens for a reason. So thanks for sharing that story with us.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
So right now, I know you're doing a lot of speaking. Is there a specific passion project that you have going on right now that you'd like to talk about?
I would say I'm so excited about launching with the Energy Bus for Schools. Much like this, we're doing a brand new podcast that's going to come out. Okay. And I'm excited about that because I love being on shows like yours here, and I love being with guests, and I love putting stories out there. Right. The Energy Bus for Schools book was all about putting positive stories out there about, how educators in schools are building culture. It's a story-driven book. And that's what this podcast is going to be about. It's going to be about sharing positive success stories on building campus and district culture. So I have about 8 episodes banked and going to do more and start to kind of roll them out. So I'm really thrilled about getting that going and expanding the Energy Bus for Schools universe to help more schools out there. I mean, we have a school now in China, Beijing, China. So we have schools that are reading the book, getting the material in their hands, and saying, you know what, we want this culture change where we are. And I'm hoping the podcast can just be a vehicle to help drive that even more. So super excited about that.
That is exciting. What's the name of the podcast, and where can listeners find it?
Well, it's going to be called, of course, the Energy Bus for Schools podcast. Okay. And I believe it is live on Apple right now. So I believe, and we are getting other episodes loaded in as we speak. But if you go to Apple Podcast, it should be there. It should be there live, and we're going to have more episodes logging in there too. And of course, if you go to Energy Bus for Schools, FOR4schools.com, we're going to have a link there to the podcast and transcripts of episodes and things like that. So
Awesome.
Definitely after Labor Day, it'll be fully loaded, ready to go.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to check that out. I wholeheartedly believe what you just said, and that is it all starts with healthy cultures. We have to have healthy cultures in our schools for our students to get what they need, for our teachers to get what they need. So I appreciate the message that you are sharing. And Jim, as we end today, tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Of course. So you can follow me on social media at Jim VanAllen, VanAllan, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, X. And we also have our Energy Bus schools. Social media handles are a great way to stay in touch and let us know what's going on. And of course, the website, energibus4schools.com, if you want more information on what we do and how we help schools build a positive culture.
All right. Thank you so much, Jim. I love the work that you're doing. Love your books. If you haven't read it yet, go out and get you a copy of Energy Bus for Schools. You are not going to regret it. And connect with Jim here. He will come to your school and he will be a speaker. He would love to work with your school as a consultant, an Energy Bus for Schools consultant. And again, Jim, thank you for coming on today. We had a great interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Leading with Hope is an intentional practice requiring self-reflection and self-awareness. Check out my website at leadwithhope.net and subscribe to my monthly blog. My blog will help you build self-efficacy and lead with hope. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.